Good morning, you guys. Welcome back to Rocket City Yardstead. So I guess you can probably tell I've got some work to do. We have been so hot since we got home from vacation. Heat advisories on multiple days, and it's just not ending. This coming week, we have heat indices that are going to be somewhere around 110 degrees, and some of my plants just cannot take that kind of weather. And especially over in the new garden, you can see some of the plants are already a little weak. I did get fertilizer, so I want to get that put on, but I don't want to just leave them susceptible to 110 heat index without a little bit of protection. So I have shade cloths that go in my old garden area. I do need to figure out how to reconfigure these a little bit. So that's going to be a bit of a job. And then I went and got some more T-posts. I already had some that I could repurpose, but I needed some more. So last night I went and got some more. We're going to put T-posts in the new garden area because I have 4 new shade cloths that are supposed to be coming today for over here. So I won't get those put up today, but I can at least have the T-posts ready for them once they get here. So let's figure out the shade cloth stuff. Before we start working on shade cloths, I did want to show you guys something exciting I just spotted. My cardinal basil has its first blooms. Look. I can't wait to see how big these actually get. I've been so excited about putting them in bouquets. You guys, I have picked 4 bouquets out of here in the last week. I gave some to the neighbors. These flowers are just going crazy. And I love it. So you guys, one of the things I'm trying to figure out is how I want to orientate all of my shade cloths this year. I have one that for the last 3 years, I think, has covered this entire bed and gone over the 2 trellises. And that's just too much. We have sweet potatoes down here. And last year, my sweet potatoes ended up under one of the shade cloths, and they did not do well. I think there were a couple of factors there. I think the fact that we were having a drought played into that as well. But sweet potatoes love the heat. They love the sunshine. And so I don't want them under a shade cloth. I don't think it's best for them. So I think one of my shade cloths that's smaller will work if I attach it starting at this post and go over and then take it that way. So I'm going to try it. Hopefully I don't waste zip ties figuring out that I don't like this, but I'm not really sure I'm going to know until I actually execute things. So we'll just see how it goes. Oh, you know what? I just had a thought. I have a shade cloth that has a hole in it that might be better for this. I'm going to go grab that one because it's longer. All right, let's see if this one is going to be a better option. I think it's quite a bit longer. And even with a hole in it, it'll still provide a good amount of shade. I think, yes, I think this is going to be the shade cloth for this spot. You guys might remember if you were with me last year that I had an arch that I made over some straight cattle panels, and I used flexible metal rods that were for making low tunnels. I attached them at the top of my T-posts and made an arch, and we had this over top. Unfortunately, this guy got ripped really badly because I did not get it down before we ended up with some snow, and I just totally forgot about it being out here. And that resulted in a collapse. It broke those rods, and the shade cloth got all torn up in the wind as it blew against those broken rods. I'm thinking maybe I can weave this together a little bit because it's a pretty big tear. I don't think I remembered how sizable it was. Maybe that would be better to do after I get it put up. and it's all kind of stretched out. Can you tell I'm just kind of winging it today, you guys? Sometimes that's what it requires in the garden. Two zip ties. This is a little bit wider than I need, and I will show you guys what I did here in a minute, but now I need to try and get the shade cloth over the top of this towel panel. This is a little bit wider than I need, and I will show you guys what I did here in a minute, but now I need to try and get this shade cloth over the top of this cattle panel. So this is going to protect my eggplants and some of my tomatoes. These are 30% shade cloths, if I remember correctly. So it's not a massive amount. All right, let's see if this reaches. Oh. It's a little bit longer than I want it to be, but I think I can pull it down the cattle panel some. That might be my best option here. So I think I'm actually going to attach it to the top of my cattle panel instead of a T-post because it's longer and I might as well get all of the protection out of it I can. So I'll pull it snug. Oh, I didn't do that right. Let me grab another one. I was trying to go around. Let me show you guys. I don't know why this is a problem for me, but I do this every time I'm using T-posts and cattle panels and zip ties. So I wanted this zip tie to go around this notch so that this wouldn't be sliding. But I messed it up. So we'll just grab another zip tie and we'll fix it. So there we go. Nothing another zip tie couldn't fix. Sometimes we just got to use an extra zip tie. It's a little bit like duct tape. They can fix everything. I am not 100% sure what my best option here is. I think I'm just going to try and pull this together and zip tie it to the cattle panel. I mean, that closed that up pretty good. I know it's not going to be perfect, but if we could just have it mostly close up, that will be really helpful. Because one of the things that's so great about these shade cloths is not just that they help your plants, but when you need to come out here and work, it makes a big difference. Like I was just out here a couple of days ago. Oh, something just bit me. I was just out here a couple of days ago and was weed whacking all of my walkways. They desperately needed it after being gone for 2 weeks. And it would have been really nice to have had the shade cloths up over the middle walkways. Would have helped a lot. I hate using so many zip ties here, but I'm a little bit nervous about these in-between spots when the wind blows. So I think I am gonna use more and zip tie them to that cowl panel there. But in calm air, this looks like it's gonna do a good job. The real question is once the wind kicks up, how is this gonna work? I think one more and we'll have it done. What do you guys think? I think that's gonna work. I don't think I want all of these dangly bits though, so I'm gonna snip that all off. So one shade cloth in, I feel pretty happy about this. And it already has made a big difference just standing underneath it, even with the cloud cover. Although I am noticing some blue in the sky, so that might be part of why. I can tell that it's working. So I got another shade cloth up and I thought I'm taking a little break because all that overarm stuff is really tiring. I thought I would show you guys. I'm pretty sure I forgot to show you my row of tomatoes while I did the garden tour when we came back. So got lots of cherry tomatoes growing here, you can see. This is a bit of a jungle, I'm not gonna lie. More cherry tomatoes. There's a pineapple tomato. I'm keeping a very close eye on this. I need to come out here at night because you guys, do you see what I see? Hornworm damage, and I spotted some hornworm poop, and I do not want it to get my tomatoes. I already lost a really big one of those tomatoes to some kind of caterpillar. I know it wasn't a hornworm because it was little green poop. It was light green. If you don't know, hornworm poop looks like a grenade and it's dark. But they had eaten all around the top of the tomato. I was super disappointed. It was a good 1.5 pound tomato, probably. But that is the nature of gardening. Sometimes you lose your tomatoes to pests. So we're just keeping an eye on these other ones. But the real star right now in my tomatoes are my paste tomatoes. There's some newer ones. All in here are tomatoes. There's one right there that's blushing. There are some buried back in the jungle a little bit. But these plants are just putting on so many tomatoes. These are my Amish paste tomatoes. And then I have not pruned these. And maybe I still should. I don't know. But these are those, are they big boy tomatoes that I got at Costco not long before I went on my trip? They were not tall enough to attach to the cattle panel when we left. And so I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to prune off. And then when I got home, there were tons of tomatoes on them. And so I'm a bit reluctant to prune anything off because I don't want to lose the fruit, especially with the weather being the way it is. I've mentioned this before in videos, but if you don't know, once it gets up 90, 95 degrees, especially with high humidity, the tomato flowers are sterile and they won't actually produce flowers. Or they'll produce flowers, but they won't produce tomatoes unless you've managed to get a hybrid tomato that has been bred specifically for high heat. And so any flowers these plants are setting here in the next week, they're probably just dropping those blossoms because it is just too hot for them. And so any tomatoes that are already on these plants, I want to salvage. And so I think maybe I'm just not going to prune them right now, which might be a bad idea, but we'll see. We'll just take it as it comes. I will say a lot of times I get a huge second flush if I can keep my plants healthy. I normally pick a lot of tomatoes right as the frost is coming in. And so maybe I'll prune them after these initial tomatoes come off. I didn't realize at this point that my microphone had died, but I did want to include this. I needed to move one of my T-posts. I ended up being one short, and you can kind of see here, this caused a little bit of trouble. It lifted my board and my corner block up on this bed as I was pulling this T-post out, and it was a little bit stressful. I'm going to show you here. You can see the block raised up. There's a rebar piece driven through these blocks. And so getting it back on was kind of hard, but you know, we just troubleshoot and figure it out. And I got it in the end, but I should have bought the extra T-post. I thought about it and then I didn't. So lesson learned, but I just thought I would include showing you guys when I have to troubleshoot because that's just the nature of gardening. And then we're going to put that T-post up where we need it. I needed to move it because the shade cloth would not reach to the other side of that bed. Plus I had sweet potatoes there and I didn't want them covered as well. So I just go ahead and get this moved so we can attach that new shade cloth to it. But I did want to mention to you guys, if you happen to be in the market for T-posts, make sure that you are doing some price comparison, because I have Tractor Supply and Rural King close to me where I can buy T-posts, and the exact same T-posts were somewhere around $2.50 cheaper at Rural King than they were at Tractor Supply. So with the amount I purchased, I ended up saving around $20. I don't know about you guys, but I have better things to do with $20 than spend it unnecessarily on a product I can get cheaper elsewhere. So just my little PSA for doing price comparison. My microphone was still dead here, but I did want to show you that we got those shade cloths up. We got that whole north side of my original garden area covered. And I'm sure my garden really appreciated it because it was so hot the week that we did this. Well, friends, I did not film any last night, but we came out and did some work in the garden. You can see here behind me, we've got a whole lot of T-posts in. I have 2 left that I need to do. But down here, I was able to actually put a shade cloth up, so that was really nice. We had one that was the right size that I did not use in the other garden area. So this is sort of how this is going to go. We'll have one there. I apologize for the bright sun. We'll have one there. And then down there we'll have 2 as well. We are in the evening, so let me show you guys these loofah flowers. I don't think I've ever been out here at night with the camera. They're so pretty. I love them. And since I filmed that garden tour, we actually had a loofah grow up. It is right smack in the middle of the trellis. And here, I'll stand right next to it. I walked right into it last night, not paying attention, and it is heavy. It kind of hurt. I got my T-posts in. This one was by far the most scary and precarious, just because I've got all this squash plant down here and the cattle panel to deal with. So I think I'm going to start putting the shade cloth up from this side as well, just because I would like to be done with this T-post. I can link these for you guys if you are interested. I have several that I've bought from Amazon, and they work really well for me. I like that they have the reinforced plastic on the corners and the grommets to reinforce where you're attaching them. I'm sure there are other places you can get them as well, but we have done Amazon for the most part. These shade cloths are a bit oversized to what they say they are by a good foot, I would say. And so it does require a little finagling, but there might be instances where that is preferable for you. So just got to know your own circumstances. Here, I just end up rolling them up a little bit. Oh gosh. We're just rolling it up to get it up high. And then we're going to put a zip tie through the grommet. Mom, if you twist from the edge, it will roll. If you twist using the grommet. If you could pull that T-post just a little bit for me. Let me. 2 more to go. We are hot and sweaty and disgusting, but you can see our shade cloths are finished. We finished them down here as well. See Mom there putting fertilizer on. Hopefully this is going to help with this insane heat. For some people, it probably seems crazy at the end of July to be putting shade cloths up, but we have had some of our worst, most intense heat where we live in August and September. We even had one year where the first week of October was 100 degrees. So we have a lot of growing season left, and these are going to help our plants a lot. So thanks for hanging out with me yesterday and today while we got the garden taken care of and tried to get it protected from this heat. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Bye.